Welcome to Windom Earle. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today on Meanwhile, Dan, we are going to be it's book club. It's a book club
day.
time. It's been a while. We did a book club. We did a tape club. And we're back with book club for one of the longest book titles you can find. The Autobiography of F.B.I. Special Agent Dale Cooper, My Life, My Tapes.
Yeah.
Before we get into the Autobiography of F.B.I. Special Agent Dale Cooper, My Life, My Tapes, we got some movement, some activity over on the old Patreon.
We sure do.
We put out a new episode of The Pink Room. We were talking about dual spires. I put out a new Club Silencio, where if you wanted to know my theory of everything that Lost Highway means, now's your chance. I added some topics. Basically, I don't know how Patreon works.
You're a community manager now.
I'm slowly figuring out Patreon. So there's a dedicated section for like kind of general, whatever you want to talk about, usually Meanwhile related or a regular podcast. Mm-hmm. I've got a spot for Pink Room. Like Dan and I, we have some ideas of stuff we want to do, but there may be something you want us to cover in the Pink Room. Dump it in that little area. What else do we have? You want to talk about movies? Got a little movie club area, the Club Silencio chat, and finally, Dan's favorite, and Ask Us Anything. You have a question you want for Dan? You have a question you want for me? Hey, you want to mark that answer on air? We will. Yeah. That was our old Doctor Who show promise, and that carries over to Meanwhile. If you have a question for us, we'll either answer there or on the air, especially if it's an embarrassing question.
Fantastic. Eric, I'm so excited about your Club Silencio Lost Highway. I haven't seen that movie since it originally came out. I never went back and rewatched it. I just, because of that, went and bought the David Lynch, directed by David Lynch bundle on iTunes, because there were a bunch of movies I didn't have there. So my homework is to watch Lost Highway again, listen to your theories and takes and follow the red string on your corkboard, and then I'm going to jump in on the chat and start talking about it. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit in another episode, but I haven't seen it forever. I remember being like blown away and confused at the same time by it, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what you think. What comes in the what is it called, directed by David Lynch bundle?
I think that's what they call it, yeah. It was Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, Fire Walk With Me, which I didn't own. I was just going to stream it. What did I say? Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway. I think it was 5 movies. Pretty good. Yeah, it was like
good collection.
Ends up being like $10 a piece, but for like the high quality, whatever. And to own them, I was very excited about that. So cool. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Speaking of things to talk about, Dan,
what do we got to talk
let's talk about the Autobiography of FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper, My Life, My Tapes, written by Scott Frost. We remember Scott, right? He wrote 2 episodes of Twin Peaks, but he also wrote the Diane tapes.
Yeah.
Which we listened to, which was a lot of fun.
He knows Cooper's voice. Like we'll get into. I'm sorry, but I'm just jumping ahead. He really knows Cooper's voice.
Yeah, and I think having written all of those, well, not that he wrote that many extras. A lot of it's from the show, but there was a few there to get in. This was the second book in what was supposed to be a 4-book deal when they got the show with ABC, but only 3 were actually put out. It's Secret Diary of Laura Palmer by Jennifer Lynch, The Autobiography of Special Agent Dale Cooper, My Life, My Tapes, and The Access Guide, Access Guide to Twin Peaks, which was kind of all of them. I think there may be like one guy that's the main writer. His name escapes me, but like Mark Frost was involved in that book, and Bob Engels and Harley Payton. Like, so there's a lot of people that were contributing to that one, which we'll do. But the 4th one was just, when the show got canceled, they were like, the book deal's gone. So if you had read Fire Walk with Me, Your Laura Disappeared by Scott Ryan, who I interviewed for this very podcast, he's got a interview. It's a great book. You should definitely purchase this book if you haven't already. And if you like Fire Walk with Me as much as I do, you will really get a kick out of it. But he has an interview with Greg Feinberg. So apparently that fourth book was the impetus of Fire Walk with You, the film. Oh. So Greg Feinberg was like, oh, this book deal's over. And then he was like, oh, let's take all of the ideas for season 3 and do it as a book. And then once he kind of said that out loud, he was like, no. Let's do all of season 3 as a movie. And then eventually it gets to David Lynch, and he's like, no, we're going all the way back. It's going to be about Laura. We'll cover that when we get to Fire Walk with Me.
So you're saying that there were plans for a season 3 that chronologically followed the events of season 2?
It would have been what they wanted to do with season 3 as a book. And then it was no, as a movie.
Gotcha.
That's what Greg Feinberg said.
That's pretty cool.
Had occurred to him. But yeah, so this came out. Here's another thing. It's very hard to figure out when this book came out. Wikipedia shows it coming out May 1st. I think a lot of these wiki sites and stuff have it coming out as May 1st. I think Amazon's either May 1st or like June 1st or something. But Scott Ryan, once again, tell you throw a rock, you're looking around. Even before I think I interviewed him, either before or after, I was like looking, trying to figure out, because I'd been prepping for this particular episode for what seems like years. And I found a blog post, and it was like, this is when it came out. April 2nd, 1991. The author of the blog post, which I'll link to in the show notes, had like a newspaper ad that was like an interview and announcing the book comes out on Tuesday, and he figured it out. April 2nd. I since emailed him just to be like...
So they were all wrong.
They were all wrong. Scott Ryan is right. We will say Fantastic. Scott Ryan's right. So don't go by Wikipedia. Don't go by the main Twin Peaks wiki that you'll always see if you're searching for something.
Go update your wikis and use that blog post as your source, man. That's how we do it. Yeah. That's really fascinating.
This book's long since out of print. There is no audiobook, which... Kyle, I mean, if you can make it happen, like Cheryl Lee did a wonderful audiobook of Secret Diary.
I want to hear Kyle MacLachlan right now doing 13-year-old Dale Cooper. How interesting.
Yes, here's where I change it. Both of these books start with a very young character. Laura's 12, Laura's 12, and Cooper is 13, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I would cast a young boy.
Yes, that could be better.
And then change it up. Cheryl Lee is one of the finest actresses. She pulls it off. Like, I believe that she's young as she's getting older. But I would not want to see a little Kyle MacLachlan pretending he's 12 talking about boners.
Yeah.
And how horny and how thirsty he is for some action that we'll cover. This book had way more sex than I remember. I read this twice, right? So I read it with you, or not literally with you. We weren't sitting on a couch together.
We sat side by side.
Side by side. I read it when it came out, and I read it, over the last few months.
Folks, one of the sad things that this isn't a video podcast is you're going to have to take a photo. Sorry, that's what they're called. A photo of your book with all the notes sticking out. It's so great. That's amazing. It doesn't work as well when it's Kindle and I have like 500 notes, but Ellen is basically a spreadsheet, so it doesn't really help. But that looks so great. Anyway, cool. That's I would love to hear Kyle MacLachlan do this. Again, it is Dale Cooper's voice from the very beginning. Oh, I'm just jumping ahead. I can't wait to get into this. But yeah, it just really feels like him. You can feel the evolution of the character to who we know, but also how much just stays the same throughout. The tone and inflection and everything, the humor, it's all there, and it just grows and deepens and changes with maturity. It's fantastic. Scott, what a great job, buddy.
All right, so we'll do like we did, because we're not going to go chapter by chapter, entry by entry. We would go insane. So like The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, we're each going to bring a little bit something that we want to talk about. I'm going to talk mostly about like themes or like larger things that are carried over for multiple years. We're going to go out of order, so this is not happening chronologically. But to start it off, I want to talk about basically three things, three
Okay.
people, the three loves of Cooper's life
All right, here we go.
that all end in death, and
Yeah.
how important those are, and how Cooper's sort of a man alone. When he does connect with people or tries to connect with people, that he loses them. I'm going to go through all three of them. Each one has connections to other bigger ideas that when they come up, I'm just going to table. We're not going to go into all of those here because I want to talk about those separately. So we got to start off with his mom, right? He's got this
Absolutely.
really close relation to his mom. They're both gifted. They both have these visions and these dreams that reveal greater truths. All the dream stuff and her ring and how that's in the family. Another discussion. Gonna hand that off for now. But the sudden loss of his mom to the brain aneurysm.
Yeah.
Cooper is never the same. There's so much of what goes on in Cooper's head, in his heart and his soul, is this battle between light and darkness. It's something his mom sees in her dream, I think, with the birds and everything going over the light. It's something Earle sees and tries to take advantage of that we're going to get to later when we get to the end. But this is like her death is the first crack, like in a spiritual break in that thing that separates his good half from his evil half. And even Marie, who we're going to get to as the second sort of person that he sort of pines after, when his mom dies, he even snaps at her. And she brings up God and he says, "I'll knock your teeth out." It's pretty violent little young Cooper. So this is sort of the first alienation and isolation. Cooper is such a lonely person that is just trying to reach out and make a connection. And when he loses his mom, obviously that's not a sexual connection. Young Cooper gets very horny, as we said, and he's dying for action. So I don't mean to tie the two because the people that follow, there's a sexual connection to it. Obviously, that's not the case with his mom, but it is somebody that he loves. It is somebody that he's close to that is taken from him in a tragic way. The next girl we got to talk about is Marie. Yep. So this is his friend's sister. Now, stepping outside of the book, I don't know if you're supposed to do this anymore these day and age. If you're supposed to talk about the author's life and how it connects to the book or not going to.
It's all fair game.
Book. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
We know that Mark Frost, Scott Frost, they're brothers. They have a friend of the family, close friend of the family, older sister. I know I've heard Mark Frost say he had a crush on her. She was murdered. She was killed. So looking at this, the way that they're handling Marie, and she is friends of the family, and she does meet her end, drowning alone. I just wonder if there's how much of that pain and that sort of being young and being in love and looking at a girl, especially when we get to Cooper's peeping habits, fed into those feelings. Is that something that Scott also, was he close to that girl or not? And how much that has to do. I just liked seeing that, or not like seeing that connection. That connection made me sad in a way for just kids being in love with someone or pining over someone, and then it ends in the way that it does. He's an outsider always looking, like he's watching her through the window when she does the dancing thing, which I want to talk about a little bit later when we start talking about Twin Peaks stuff. Or when he's sneaking, it's not with Marie, but he's sneaking through like the vents at school to try to spy on the girl. Like
on the sex ed,
there's this voyeur aspect to Cooper that is like he just wants to connect, but he doesn't always know how that he's going to do it.
Just on the connection, I wonder if it's sorry. And folks, this is Eric and I haven't discussed the topics we're going to discuss, so this is a real conversation off the top of my head. But I wonder, is he? Yes, I don't disagree. He's trying to make connection, but I really feel like it's this observational skills that are the thing that make Cooper so unique, and so the detective that he later becomes. And it feels to me a lot more like observation in order to figure things out. He doesn't, when he's looking at Marie through his from his bedroom window and sees her in the bedroom, he just wants to understand what it is. He's trying to make sense of it. When he's climbing through the air ducts to get to the spine of the sex ed. It's not to make a connection with anyone. It's try to understand what's going on there. And this forbidden knowledge, they go off and they do this thing, and I don't know what happens, and he wants to find that out. I think speaking into the tape recorder all the time is another way of trying to make sense of the world, which I guess, trying to make connection is part of that.
That's what I mean.
But I think the wider is not an interpersonal connection between people at this point, although I think he wants that. I just don't think he understands the world. He has one of the quotes that I wrote down that he said was something along the lines of, I can't wait to grow up so I can understand things more, or I don't understand things, I can't wait until I do. And I remember that feeling as a kid around his age so viscerally. Like, I know when I'm older, this is all going to make sense, but I can't quite understand it. And to me, that's what he's trying to do, is put pieces together and make sense of the world around him. And he is inept at it, socially awkward, doesn't understand how some of these things should work. Following a gang member around to try to see if he can crack a case with a big tape recorder in his backpack covered in potatoes. Like, this kid is not able to put pieces together and is slowly trying to get the tools to do that over time. I don't know. Sorry, just a little bit of rambling, but just a distinction between like a personal connection that he's trying to make, which I think is true, but the wider thing of trying to understand the world he inhabits.
Trying to make a connection with humanity. Like,
yeah.
He comes across as like someone who has autism.
Yes.
Who is unable to, not because they don't know, they don't necessarily have the skill set for it, or they just look at the world so differently that it is very much like Sherlock Holmes. Here's my evidence. I have what is this thing in my pants? Like, why do I have an erection? These are the reasons why I have an erection. Or like, what happens if I don't, how long can I go without peeing? Like, how long can I go without sleeping?
Oh my God, the sleep one was the best. That was great.
So there's like, it's all very scientifically analyzing everything, but it's more than that for me. Like, it is this yearning for a connection, and he keeps getting close to these people. And so like to jump back to Mary, right? So we talked about him, similar to like a Jeffrey Beaumont in Blue Velvet with Looking Through It. But it's this quest for sex, and his first sexual experience, literally with fireworks, is with Marie.
Yeah.
But Marie is lost, right? She's damaged, and she sadly dies alone, drowning. And the last thing that she says to him is like, "Oh, thanks for saving my sneakers." And again, her death is like that crack from his mom, and the crack now from Marie is even goes wider. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to follow with other women. There's Anne Sweeney. He tries to get with. He's in love with her. She's a lesbian. She's buying her girlfriend like the Willa Cather book.
Oh,
there's the
the
two hippies, April and Star, and he tries to make out with April and everything, and I think they get drunk.
He's too drunk.
His whole quest, like, there's very much a Wonder Years feel to all of this. There's Andy and Lana. I'm getting those mixed up. One of them is married.
And Andy is,
Like, all of these people are out of reach, either emotionally out of reach, or they're married, or they're just hippies on their own sort of adventure. Lana was the one that burned her own house down, right? Burned her cabin down when he took her. He went home with her to meet her family or whatever. And then there's the fire, and then he's like smelling the gasoline. So they're all like, he can't find this love until he gets to Caroline, right? So it's like the love of his life. It's also the wife of his partner, but it's the first time truly that someone loves him back. Like, it's not a one way. Even with Marie, who has the physical thing happens, there's really no mental thing. She's not really there. She's off. She becomes a religious fanatic. Like, she's like a crazy hippie. She's a drug addict. Like, she goes through all of these things. This is like the first time that he connects with someone and it has meaning, and it's so violently taken away from her. We're going to cover all of the Windom Earle, the kidnapping stuff, like what was Windom doing, all that stuff later. But just in terms of her, it's just such a sadness to have that happen to him. And when you go through those three people, and then you look at Cooper in the show through that lens, it all makes so much more sense, especially with like Audrey, and everybody he gets close to dies or something. So of course he would want to stop that. and like what's going to happen if he lets someone else in, and all of that stuff is so great.
But was also thinking along similar lines as things to discuss. So thinking about the women in his life, the way that I came at it too was, and we could just kind of blend these topics together. When Cooper first he tests out of school, he's going to leave. His dad gives him some advice to watch out for bad water and snakes, which just stuck with me because it's a weird thing to say, but it comes back. Like we have the years that he's in the wilderness, basically, and he has like one tape a year, and he says water's good, snakes are bad, and vice versa, whatever. So that's great. So I just wanted to pay attention to that throughout. So the water motif actually really connects very strongly to especially the women that you're talking about here, but to the women throughout. His mother dying, which again was the most traumatic part of his life. He says, she taught me that love is the only thing that matters, which his view on that changes or evolves over time. But when he dies, but when she dies, they decide to cremate her and put her remains in a river. Later, when Cooper goes back to the town and visits, everything has changed, things are different, and even the river is dammed up. So it's just this, it is an interesting thing that there's that water connection there. Marie dies in the water. They're boating that day when he has his first sexual relationship with her in the woods, and the fireworks. So there's a direct connection there. Andy, which I think is very significant, they end up kind of rolling down a hill and into a stream together as they're making love. And there's also like, I find the quote, but something about the way that the leaves are wrapping around their bodies like snakes, which is not a phrase that you would tend to use, but it felt very pointed that he would reuse that metaphor there, put the water and snakes together in one place.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that wrapped around like snakes.
It just stuck out to me as being so strange, just because the initial like advice was so interesting. And then Caroline's the one that feels a little bit more tenuous, but there are a number of things. Earle and Caroline's honeymoon was on this island that Earle sends him to with the chess teacher who hangs themselves. So there is that. There is the with Caroline as well. There's the strange call that Cooper, I believe Cooper gets from Earle, where he's saying, I'm drowning.
Or I'm sinking. Is it I'm sinking?
Or sinking. No, you're right. You're totally right. It was sinking. I'm sinking. That's right. And whenever Cooper gets injected with the drug, whatever it is, he's like floating down the stream. That's how he's visualizing himself and kind of letting himself go out to sea, which could be a connection to his mother as well. But it's just interesting that interesting to me anyway, that those motifs are so wrapped around each other. And yet, to me, the advice of watch out for bad water and snakes is so innocuous and also opaque at the same time, but it comes back repeatedly throughout. The snake thing comes back several times as well. When he's on that stakeout with the DEA, and he's like, it's the most dangerous stakeout he's been in, and he's like kind of waiting around, and he sees like a snake going across the parking lot, and it gets picked up by an animal. It's going to be at the dinner that night. But anyway, yeah, I like those connections all together as well.
The one thing too, just to end it on Caroline, like these tapes, is the most personal thing that he had. It's his voice given to us from when he's a little boy. Like, it's only Cooper, except for Caroline. She takes the tape and says, "I love you, Dale Cooper."
Yeah.
But the fact that she does that bit. Now, I would say my one complaint about this book is their relationship. I wish there was a little bit more of the two of them, because it goes from like zero to having these feelings for her. Their feelings are reciprocal. And this is when I talk about like Earle seeing this and putting them together. If you remember, like Earle leaves the house, like he's setting them up to have this affair so that he can punish Cooper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like he's using Cooper's need for a woman against him.
I feel the same way about the ending with Caroline. The last chunk of the book where we finally get to Windom Earle and Caroline. And I say finally because obviously we've been watching the show. This is what's happening right now in the show. It's very pivotal to the central part of the plot. I've been looking forward to finding about some more backstory about how the two of them met, what their relationship was, and how the three of them interacted. And it did feel very rushed or incomplete or kind of a sketch. And I really wanted a lot more of that. And I wonder Is it because I had expectations about it? So am I just bringing bad expectations to this, and that it's just is what it is? Did they hold back with an expectation that more would be drawn out in the show? But I guess based on the chronology, probably not. That wouldn't have worked out. But I just want to say I felt the same way. I really expected. Caroline is just, to me, in this book and in the show, is just a stick figure. I don't know anything about her. She's an amazing woman.
No, she's not. Yeah, she's not really fleshed out because they don't have a lot of time. They only have a couple of brief things together, and it's not until she's kidnapped, made a prostitute, then recovers from drugs, and then he's watching her that they have like their walks that they go on and like all that stuff. There's not a lot of courtship. One thing to, I guess we should point out, is there is some inconsistencies, and maybe we'll, rather than just do a list at the end, it has her dying in 1979, I think, but in the show she dies. Cooper says she died like 4 years ago.
4 years ago, we drew the assignment of protecting a material witness in a federal crime. She was a very beautiful, very gentle woman. Her name was Caroline. She and I fell in love.
So, which would have been like 1985 or so. So, whatever. There's a bunch of like little things that are inconsistent between the book and the show. Even an episode that had already aired, like Double Play, which is episode 21, is when he says this was 4 years ago that this happened. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of little things like that. We'll just highlight them, I guess, as we find them.
As we did with Laura's Diary too. Interesting, but not super impactful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. Again, once he loses Caroline, final crack in his psyche in this thing, and he just collapses into depression. He stops speaking for several years, and the as far as the Diane tapes go, like he goes quiet. He's just in a really, really bad place. All right, so what's your next big idea here that you want to talk about?
Sure. Following along with the idea of just overarching themes and moments throughout the book, we have to talk about the dreams and the supernatural. Yeah, throughout the book, you touched on this in the very beginning. I think the first occurrences of this, the dreams that his mother has. I just have a whole wall of quotes here from the book, but I'll try to like put them all together. But he has these dreams. His mom has these dreams. She had another one of her dreams that she's been having. She said she was alone in a field when thousands of birds filled the sky, blocking out all the light. That's when she always wakes up. There's the dream about a man trying to get into the room.
And the mom's like, yeah, I know him too. And she refers to him as him. And it's like, is that Bob? Are we talking about Bob here? And I mean, there's a couple of those things that happen.
I mean, I believe that has to be the implication, or something along those lines, lodge spirit or whatever it happens to be, which is great. It has to be Bob. It has to be Bob. Yeah, it's terrific. She says to him, Mom says, we can see things in our dreams that we can't see when we're awake. And obviously that is so central to the first season of Twin Peaks and solving the murder of Laura Palmer as well. So I love that we're coming back and placing all of these things that we've learned about Cooper in the show all the way back in the beginning of his childhood through his mother. And he took her seriously the entire time. He was scared by it. He was scared for her. So I love that there's this carries all the way through from the very beginning.
You mentioned the bird dream, and it's also like, we know Cooper doesn't like birds.
Oh, you want to feed him, Agent Cooper?
I don't like birds.
And he says it in this book, he doesn't like birds. But it's like, as a kid, to hear your mom having these crazy dreams about birds, like you can see maybe some of the seed of that fear that he's internalized, and he doesn't like birds because his mom would have these nightmares about birds. And I already talked about the birds covering the light and the battle within him between light and dark that she sees.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to go back. I'm assuming some people who are listening to us now are just interested in what we've gleaned from it and maybe haven't read the book, but I just want to quote this one part that is about the Bob dream. Had a dream in the middle of the night that frightened me a great deal. A man who I've never seen was trying to break into my room. He kept calling my name and said he wanted me. He then screamed. After a moment, it turned into a kind of roar as we went, roar as if he were some kind of animal. Mom told me about it, and she said that she knew about him and that she has the same dream and that I must never let the man into my room. I just got chills reading that. I just love both the characterization, the visual that presents and the connection between Cooper and his mother, I just think is fantastic. And the roaring like an animal is 100% Bob. That is just, it's great. It's great to have this seed so early on. Later on, I mean, there's other, supernatural events. Cooper does have another dream, and he wakes up, and you had mentioned this before. He wakes up, and he has a golden ring in his hand, right? He's clutching it whenever he wakes up.
Yeah, that's when has the dream in which his dead mom is in his dream, just like Laura Palmer, which is amazing. So he has a dream where he talks to his mom. She's already passed, right?
Here's the passage. I just woke from a dream where I was visited by mom. She was not the same as I remember her. She seems to be younger, barely a woman, blah, blah, blah. I woke to find myself clutching a small gold ring in my hand. I do not know where it came from, and I'm sure it was not there when I went to sleep. I believe she was here, and at the same time cannot believe it. These things do not happen. There's an explanation. The ring is now locked in the drawer of my desk. Mom is dead. It was only a dream. I will not believe this. So good. It's so good.
What's so great about that is like this is, sort of the Red Room situation where time moves in all different directions. Like him talking to Laura, who has already been dead, and now his mom is younger.
Yep.
And then what follows that passage is he asks his dad, like, what's the deal with this ring? And the dad says the mom wore it.
Yeah.
And it belonged to her father. And then it's like this some kind of family thing, but he hadn't seen it in years. Like his mom must have not been wearing it. And now all of a sudden it's going to Cooper through his dream.
She took it off when they got married, actually. She stopped wearing it when they got married.
Yep. So it's a thing that's sort of moved through. And then you think about, the dream, the ring. It's the same ring the giant took.
Right.
And that he got back. And it's this thing that can move in and out of dreams.
That is interesting because you do mention, he says later, a strange thing happened last night. I awoke to find her ring back on my finger.
Yeah, because he puts it in a drawer right after a dream. It comes back. I feel like that's what solidifies Cooper. It tells you Cooper makes a decision at that moment. I'm never going to take the ring off. He says, this is me, Dale Cooper. It says a lot about who he is and why. Like he makes a commitment here to another type of like spirituality. Like it's a different way to see the world. And he accepts the strange and mysterious. Like he is a factual guy. He's looking at this thing. This thing happens. He's not going to take it off. He's not going to question. He'll still question, but he's going to accept there are other worlds. There are dream worlds, and it opens him up to all sorts of spiritual. He's like a seeker that we'll get to when he goes religion to religion later. But I love that.
I don't need to go like point by point because there's a dozen more that we could mention.
Yeah, he sees Marie too in the dream.
That's what I was just gonna say. Woke from a terrible dream and found myself staring at Marie sitting at the corner of the bed. It was not a dream, and yet I cannot compel myself to believe that it was real, though I know in my heart it was. So these communing with the dead through his dreams. He had a dream prior to that says that there was a door with light coming through a crack. Outside I could hear voices when I thought was my mother's, but then he thought maybe it was Marie's. I heard her say, please, I'm not ready. The voice grew fainter and fainter until it was gone. I wish Marie was at peace. So this, like the two earliest loves of his life, both taken from him early, both being visiting him in a dream, kind of coming together in one dream, combined with the door that's holding Bob out to this outside world where they're trying to communicate with him. All these things coming together is so perfect in that moment. I think it works so well.
Yeah. And there's one more weird dream, like the freaking green chair. The guy with no legs in the green chair says he can't run and that it is behind him and will kill him. And like, what is the it?
Yep. And he says he also has a strange dream. I was dancing with a tiny little man and a very beautiful young woman. So a direct, mention of what happens later in his first dream that we see in Twin Peaks. So this is fantastic. All the dreams are really great, but that's one part of it. The one I think that all ties into the greater supernatural and Dale being able to see or sense things outside of normal senses. He has this running feeling of a growing sense that evil is a tangible thing. It is a real thing that exists in the world in and of itself. It takes a form. There's the moment, do I have the note here, where Dale is following a woman. He gets a feeling that there's something wrong with her. He's following her down a street at night, and then comes across her body stabbed there. And he can feel that there is someone there watching him. Someone or something. It is the evil that is within striking distance, but decides not to strike at that moment. And that recurs throughout as well. That get me the last like unexplainable phenomena thing is What's the Blue Man, dude? Please tell me something happens with this.
I think Scott Frost saw the Blue Man Group. And was
Fantastic.
like, I don't know what the Blue Man
It's
is.
great.
A man painted blue watches
A
Cooper.
strange,
What?
a strange man outside my building. Look at my window. He appears to be painted in blue. I'm not sure what he wants. Interesting note. Saw the Blue Man outside my window again last night, and that's it. Just 2 references to it.
Yeah, there's several like odd things, like when he's working as a grave digger, or not a grave digger, a hole digger.
I was gonna say I missed that part.
The guy, and then he goes to his house, and then the guy burns his house, and he's watching, and like there's lots of like really he has many strange adventures on the road, Cooper, which is there's just so much in this book that is just out there. All right, so I want to talk about Cooper again. Big surprise in a book about Cooper, talking about Cooper. But I talked a little bit about the light versus the dark. Mm-hmm. But there is so much inner conflict with Cooper where he is always sort of between these 2 opposing forces. So, good versus evil, or however you want to look at it. It's like his family versus the FBI, like his love of his family and the fact that his family doesn't really like that type of thing, which we'll get into, which is like a more progressive worldview versus a more conservative worldview, like his love of Caroline versus loyalty to Earle. So if you look at like very early on, like Cooper is placed in the situation with the Vietnam War where his brother has like become a draft dodger and he's run and he even misses his mom's funeral and he's got to deal with like the kids in the neighborhood that are calling him a draft dodger or calls him a coward, and Cooper punches him out.
Yep.
And his brother Emmett does not really approve of his pursuit of the FBI as he's going to get older. And really nor does his father, which we'll get into. So he has like this choice, like Cooper has this choice to like join the circus or go to college, and he ends up going to college, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's that, he's with his dad. His dad becomes like an activist after his mom dies, or at least has progressive values. He's into the Sioux Nation and getting the, we talk about 5 grandfathers, which if you know anything about Mount Rushmore, it's like, oh, it's great. There's 4 president heads on there. But when you see the history of what that mountain was to the indigenous people when it was 5 grandfathers, and it's very cruel to think that,
to replace them.
That.
Yeah.
But he's in the middle of this thing. Mm-hmm. And, when later on, when Cooper, it's a very sad moment. When Cooper kills someone on the job, like it's already in the future, he's in the FBI, he kills someone and it just crushes him. And he even wishes he wasn't an officer, and he calls his dad about the incident. And his dad is just sad and disappointed in him. And there's like this conflict that's in him.
Wait. His dad is disappointed in him. You think so? I didn't.
Well, his father is sad and disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah, I mean, not in him, because he has a very similar experience they never really shares about his. Well, didn't share at the time about his experience taking a life in Vietnam.
Right. I think he wanted a different path for his son. So
totally agree. Just
what are you disagreeing with?
I said totally agree. Just a distinction between disappointed and disappointed in him. That's all. Yeah.
Well, I think it's the same, right? You could be disappointed in someone for making decisions that you wish they didn't make.
But I didn't necessarily think that his father would have thought that.
Well, that's my take. My take is different than your take.
You shouldn't have killed this guy in the line of duty. It wasn't.
No, he's disappointed that he joined the FBI.
Okay.
He doesn't want that life for his son. Like either does Emmett. Like they don't want him. They didn't want him to go into this thing, and there's that conflict between them. At least that's my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So that's why I wanted you to clarify. Like where you were, what I wasn't picking up on was you're saying his father's disappointed in his choice to join the FBI. I thought you were talking specifically about disappointed that he killed someone, and that's a very different thing because
no, not at all.
Okay, that's where I was misunderstanding it.
That would be weird. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Like, why didn't you shoot better? That kind of thing.
Right. Right. Why didn't you kill them all?
His dad is a hippie. His dad is like running off these pamphlets, and his dad's also a failed businessman.
Well.
And he's trying all these different ideas.
A hit or miss businessman.
And they're come on.
He's hit or miss, though. Like, he was doing really well for a while.
I know, but let me get my point down. And then you could say I'm wrong. All right.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
He's the kid, right? Yeah. Ever since his mom died, Cooper is taking care of his dad. Like, he can't really be his own person. When his dad's getting married, Cooper's like using the tricks that he learned from his uncle to card count, and he's sending his dad the money. Like, he's always there to help these people out. I would say his dad always has new businesses or always has new relationships that flame out really bad. So it's that conflict within him of like, okay, the borough does good work. Like, I am solving crimes. I am doing these things. And it's all coupled with all the bad things that the organization has come to represent for people like Emmett or people like his dad. It's great that it's like not a complete whitewashing of the borough as being good too in this book. Like, I feel like you get a bigger, what was the word?
More nuance.
More nuanced position of what the borough is compared to like some of the stuff with the show is like, you know, kind of everyone's good in the borough with the exception of Earl. But all of this just feeds into that loneliness that he has. And even when he, you know, I mentioned it's Earl versus his loyalty to Earl versus his love of Caroline. And like, he's right there in between and he struggles with it. And he's always sort of at that point. And I just feel like there's such a sadness to Cooper that I love. One other thing to add, like the good versus evil. I had written this passage down, or I had underlined it when I was younger. I wasn't sure why, but I was like, when I run through the book, I'm like, oh, I purposely underlined it, which is evil is something that I seem to have no trouble at all engaging. Good and the form it takes is a much more elusive quest. Like, Cooper is dying for love, and the things that come close, we talked about his mom, we talked about Marie, are taken from death. And death is like this frequent companion of Cooper. When we cover what happened with Caroline situation, like he literally goes and the guy tells him he's got death in his face, is great. So that's I love that passage.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, his struggle against of evil, and I feel like you're right. You can see from the very beginning, he has this whole section where he is infatuated with the FBI, gets to take a tour of the FBI building, gets a signed photograph of J. Edgar Hoover, which he then charges kids a nickel, I think, to see, which was kind of funny. Like, would your neighborhood have had kids stand outside waiting to see a signed picture of J. Edgar Hoover?
He's got like the FBI poster. He writes them in, and even like when he goes to, I think it's in Haverford, right? When the FBI, and then he meets Earl. So like the FBI is like always popping in as a way for him. We didn't talk about how smart Cooper is as well. Like, he gets a 800 on both math and English. He graduates early. Like, he's a smart guy.
When he gets into Haverford, he's basically running the show. He strikes up a relationship with the university president, I think it was. He's like, this is someone I can work with because they see eye to eye. So he's basically, he's incredibly smart. Focuses on like the mental clarity aspects, like how can he center himself? And I think that was when he used those techniques to end up with the perfect score on his SATs. But later he's trying to evolve that into not just the mental, but the physical aspects of it as well. We talked a little bit about the experiments that he was doing with the sleep deprivation. Again, just go back and read that chapter. Is just fantastic as it gets progressively crazier and crazier. That's so good. It's
nice to think about the fact that he did that. And now when he talks about like Diane talking about sleep deprivation as a one-way ticket to psychosis or whatever, and it's like he's lived it. Like, he's literally.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah. Diane, see my earlier tapes for proof.
Hello, friends, and welcome to The Midpoint. You knew it was coming, but it's important. It's important to champion those that have joined us in the Black Lodge and have made this show possible by going above and beyond. I'm, of course, talking about Eric Knopp, and Dawn Adamo, and Gregory Flanagan, and Chuck Suffel, and Banjo Track. I may want all my Garmonbozia, but you will have my heart forever. How did they get here? How did they get a shout-out like this? Because they have joined our Patreon, which is available right now. So if you want to support the show, you can stop by and sign up for free or do one of the paid tiers that gets you the secret podcasts, and you help us out. Go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile, and you should see a link for the Patreon there. All right, let's get back to the proper episode. So let's talk about Caroline, Earl, and Cooper, her kidnapping, the serial killer, and everything, I guess, in between. So we have to start, I guess. Where do we start for that?
I think we should go all the way back to his meeting with Earl. Let's talk about Cooper and Earl the whole way.
Earl at the Haverford.
At the FBI booth from the very beginning. From the very beginning, he sees them at a job fair, and his comment at the time is, I spent over an hour with a special agent at the FBI booth. His name is Windom Earle, a man of uncommon intelligence. So from the very first meeting that he spent an hour with him at a job fair, first of all, which you don't do. And already there's the seed of what I see as like hero worship starting right away. He says, after talking with him, and I believe may have been looking to understand evil intellectually as a substitute for confronting it head on. So the very first moment with Earl, it's this person that he admires and this career path he wants to go in, and it's already changing his view and perception on evil, which is the struggle that he's been either avoiding or dealing with in a different way. So I just want to make sure we start there.
Right. We should start there too, because that's also when he finds 3 severed fingers in the bio.
Which is not followed up. It's just there. It's just left there on a table.
Well, you wonder, did Earl do that? Because he's there at the job fair, and then there's the severed fingers. And also in that whole... It all follows an experience with a girl, right? And Cooper, that's when he's dating Lena, and he goes to the Catholics, and he goes to the Protestants, and he goes to like the Islamic holy man, and he finally gets a Seuss holy man who seems to make him feel better, but doesn't know why. But his quest to like find something to follow and believe in and make sense of this whole thing, and he ends up running into Earl. As part of like that succession, which is an interesting way to look at like, okay, now he's going to follow this guy into hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that the next time then they go into the FBI.
He meets him at the academy. Earl says that he remembered him from the job fair and that he's been following his progress since he arrived at the academy, and he's not been disappointed. So again, this, I don't want to say father figure, but definitely someone that he admires and respects, now sees that's reciprocated, that he's continued to pay an interest in him. Must be incredibly rewarding for Cooper.
Right. And Earl is with him when he kills somebody. It's like him and Earl that go into that building, and the guy comes and he tells him to freeze or whatever, and he unloads with him. And then he ends up seeing that psychiatrist who puts him sort of on leave, and then mysteriously the psychiatrist puts his head in the oven.
Yeah.
And Earl's behind it.
Yeah.
Like pulling the strings and getting him back into that.
That's great.
While he's on leave, we have that first meeting at the house where he for his first meeting with Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's worried that it's going to affect his life, the killing. But after that, too, there's, let me find my notes here for 1 second. This is after that meeting that he finds a door with an X on it. Cooper meets Caroline, he's on leave, right? And then all of a sudden, Earl goes missing, right? And he leaves behind only his wallet and his ID. And then he starts doing this weird shit where Cooper finds an X on the door and the room is empty and there are severed hands in there. And it's like, oh, are those the same severed hands from this other murder that happened before? That's what I mean. If you look at those severed fingers and everything's severed, and like all of the stuff that all of these murders start having like chess connections too, where like they're holding black and white squares and all of this stuff. So while Earl's missing, Cooper has that long talk with Caroline, and she's like, hey, Windom called me at 7, and more bodies are found, and it appears that it's like criminals in some fashion. And then this is what you mentioned it before. After this, Windom calls Caroline. He's like, I'm sinking.
Yeah.
And then mysteriously, like a couple days later on August 4th, he arrives. Cooper does that weird interview with him, and he says, like, I looked into the abyss and I saw wonderful things. And that case of the killer, of cutting the goes cold, and it's never solved. And that's shortly after that's when Cooper goes on vacation because Earl tells him to. But it's like, to me, it's like Earl's decided like he's killing these people because they deserve it, because they talk about how they have records or something, or they're it looks like mob hits or whatever. But I think it's Earl saying it doesn't matter if you're good or if you're evil. It's all about who's winning and who's the victor.
It just strikes me like when he going back to when he first meets Caroline, Cooper and Earl play chess. He says, I have much to learn about the game of chess. Windom beats me in 7 moves. As incredibly intelligent as Cooper is, it's surprising to me he's not a good chess player. It really is just,
I think Earl's a very good chess player.
is that okay?
Yeah.
So Cooper could be a very good chess player and he's like a master?
Well, I don't know if I would say he's a bad chess player. I think Earl is a very good chess player.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to put it.
And I think Cooper is probably a decent chess player. He's not as good as Pete, hence he has to bring Pete in
Obviously.
because he knows he's never beat Earl.
No one's as good as Pete. Yeah.
But I don't get the sense that it's because that Cooper's lacking. It's that Earl is so calculating and he's a genius. Earl's a genius.
I see Cooper as a genius as well. But yeah, okay, that's fine.
He is. No, I'm not saying Cooper's not a genius, but so is Earl. You got to give your
I'm with
props to the villain.
Fantastic.
Basically, he sends him off while at the same time Caroline is kidnapped. 3 men burst into their home and the window was knocked out. But while he's on this island, he's visited by that guy, or he sees like that old guy, the strange old guy playing chess, and Earl's like, this is the guy that taught me how to play chess or whatever. Which to me is like Earl saying, I'm the old guy now teaching you, like I'm going to teach you the ultimate goal in life is to win and you're going to lose and I'm going to take Caroline away and punish her and then humiliate her and he'll humiliate you. And that's why the old guy is like, forgive me, like I shouldn't have done this thing. Like he's talking about basically setting Cooper up before he hangs himself.
The first thing the old man's warning to Cooper was, there's death in your face, I can teach you nothing. Which,
yeah, El Muerte.
Yeah, really, I think shook Cooper up a little. And then that suicide note, forgive, I was just a stupid old man, make God stop him, is great. So
yeah, and when he says that thing, there's a response to that too, just before you jump off. There's a response to that La Muerte, right? He's like, Cooper says something like, what does he say? How do you know this? Or whatever. And he goes, that is the wrong question. Now, I don't know what the right question is, but
right,
it's just interesting response to that before the chicken's nailed to freaking Cooper's door. And then he goes out and he finds the guy's hung himself with forgive.
Yeah. So you're saying the forgiveness is that he was just involved in setting Cooper up so that he could be out of the way so that...
I think that he set Cooper up. Yes. I think Earl said, do all this stuff, say this message to him, do this. And he knew, whatever reason he knew this was going to happen, he killed himself. May God stop him. I think the him in that case is Earl.
Of course. Yeah.
That he's talking about.
La Casa El Corazon is the name of the island. So the House of the Heart.
Okay. Yeah, I was imagining like a quaint little Mexican village type thing, like a place that like that he probably went with Caroline and now he's staying there.
Yeah, he definitely said this is where Caroline and I went on our honeymoon. For me, the way that it was described, I was picturing something that was not that at all. Like it felt to me like this is a place you went for a honeymoon. Like it felt to me very creepy and desolate. I don't know. Maybe it's the state of mind I was in when I was reading it.
Okay.
But it didn't read to me as like, oh, this is an obvious honeymoon destination. It felt like, what the hell was he doing sending Cooper to this? Or what would Cooper think that he was being sent to a place like this where it's isolated, there are no telephones, the power goes out, he's trapped there. There's this crazy man. I don't know. It just felt very chaotic and not at all like, you need to rest and relax. Why don't you go down to Cabo? And it just felt very different than that.
But another interesting thing is what happens when he says like the him part, may God stop him. Cooper thinks it might be him, like he may be referring to Cooper, which again is Cooper has this choice of going evil or going good, and like we're watching him be tempted, and like Earl's trying to push him towards the darkness and trying to force his hand at that. But and he also wonders like who's he asking questions for. It's just a really cool thing. And then you mentioned he gets drugged.
He gets drugged now.
All that business happening in Pittsburgh while this is happening.
Well, yeah, he says, according to my estimation, the abduction took place at the same time, but found myself falling under the influence of the narcotic. Yeah. Which is great.
So at home, Caroline is kidnapped, or in Pittsburgh, same time that he was drugged, as we said. Apparently, 3 men burst into their home, but I think that's true. And then I think those men are killed. Yeah. Windom is knocked out, and she gets taken. One other, it's like you hear about her being a material witness in a federal crime, and it's her own kidnapping. Which is the witness.
She was a witness.
Yeah, she was a witness. So it's just
she was there.
You expect it to be a witness of some crime not involving her. You feel like that would be a detail Cooper would have mentioned to Harry, but yeah. So then he like He gives her that drug. Like, there's a few clues were found, I guess we should say, with Caroline. There's a vagrant who's wearing her sweater.
Yeah.
He's talking about God is everywhere when they interview him. And Cooper's like, okay, that means it's coming from inside the house. Like, it's the FBI because they're everywhere and they're always watching.
He does make a couple of...
He makes a leap on that.
A bunch of leaps, yeah.
He's correct. But this is Cooper's style.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
we've seen him-
totally. Yeah.
She's found eventually in a prostitution raid.
Yeah.
And again, punishment from Earl. Is it punishment on Caroline because he picked up on these feelings that she has for Cooper and he's humiliating her, or more that he's humiliating Cooper by doing this to her? It's just something to think about.
Here's the thing that you had mentioned in a previous episode, I think, or a previous episode where we were discussing an episode of the show, or maybe it was also calling back to Laura's diary, but is Earl corrupting in his own mind, corrupting Caroline by forcing her into this prostitution, destroying this thing that was beautiful and pure and love. This whole idea of like having sex makes you impure. That was the point that I was trying to recall that you had mentioned in a previous conversation we had. And is it more that, yes, Cooper is taking this out on Caroline, or sorry, that Earl is taking this out on Caroline, but more that he's using Caroline to take it out on Cooper by corrupting her and bringing her to this position?
I think, I would say both. It's both, and maybe even more Caroline, right? Because they are married, so like whatever psycho relationship he had with her, and you get the sense that it was different before he killed somebody. It was like once he killed somebody, he went dark, and she warns Cooper, I hope you don't do that too. So maybe they were really close, and now they're not, and he is punishing her for having feelings for Cooper or whatever. It could be all those things.
Yeah, wild speculation here. So you've referenced a couple times, Carolyn's saying that it's when Earl first took a life that it kind of sent him off the deep end, or that seems to be the implication.
She says that to him. She says, I hope you don't, I forget exactly what she says, the way Earl did, or the way Windom did.
I wonder too, though, similar to Cooper trying to wrestle with his understanding of evil and good, love and fear, Earl being on a similar journey, and that was his inflection point, that he was always kind of on the same path as Cooper, and that it's not that the killing caused him to go insane, it's that it pushed him on that side of the path that he could have gone down instead, which I think is kind of what you were alluding to before. But I don't know that is like, I killed a guy and he couldn't handle it mentally and just like broke down and had a schizophrenic split. I think it was like, this is the face of evil, and this is the way that it's. He says later too, like, evil is going to win.
Yeah, because of guile.
And I think that's the moment that he gave into that and fully gave himself to, like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I think is right, whether it's good or
he
not.
says it does not matter. No one remembers whether the victor gets celebrated, and no one remembers if they were good or bad.
Yeah, I just feel like in the show, and maybe in Caroline's point of view as well, it's like he just went crazy, and because of this thing that happened. And I don't think that that's the case. I think he was always just on a path and trying to figure out where he was going, very like Cooper was, and that this is the moment that he kind of went in a direction. Anyway, sorry.
All right. So she's prostitution ring. She is found. They find her or her picture, and they're like identify her when they make this prostitution arrest. Mm-hmm. And so then she's recovering in Bellevue from heroin, which is reminiscent of Audrey and the heroin. And then Cooper is with her when she finally comes to. So there's like multiple times where it's Cooper and her and not Earl. Earl enters. I think they make a mention of him stroking her hand. He's very weird, and she's very weird with Earl. So Cooper's already picking up on this. A second attempt is made on her life with a mysterious drug, which I bet my bet is it's the combo drug paliperidol that the one-armer was taking.
Really weird stuff.
First attempt is made on her life, and they have to move her to a safe house. And after that moment, so a couple days after that, Cooper starts to really verbalize his feelings for her. And this is when Earl, to himself, obviously not to her, but in his recordings, Earl leaves the safe house. And this is where I'm saying, like, Earl's building this little trap for both of them to fall. And so he leaves, and that's when he tells Cooper, like, evil will beat good because of guile.
Yeah.
And that only the victor is honored, and no one will remember if he was good or evil. So we know, like, Earle has a very strict rule sense too. Like, you know, so his madness, as crazy as it is, always has some kind of logical sense behind it. Okay, so then after that, right? So after he leaves, Caroline then tells Cooper that she loves him, and she says it into the tape recorder, which I talked about, the first person, the only person to have their voice on there.
Yep.
And later that night, she starts to remember who her tormentor was, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Right? And then Cooper is stabbed. She is killed. The body, her body is then placed in Cooper's arms, so she literally dies in his arms.
I just died in your arms tonight.
We talked about the date not matching the TV show. That's fine. I didn't talk about. Oh, I guess I could talk about it now. That night at the hospital, Gordon, because Gordon Cole comes along. We'll talk about that in the Twin Peaks section. But meets Cooper's dad, and they get along. And I love that detail so much. I don't know why, but I do. And it feels like we know all the progressive stuff with the dad, and not like, it's like, of course they do. And it just feels so right, because I feel like it's David Lynch somehow.
Well, yeah.
Getting along with Cooper's dad. And it's great. I wish there was a little bit more of Gordon and more than Albert with a misspelled last name. But we'll
I didn't even notice it was misspelled. Oh,
yeah.
All
right. So then this is when I talked about it before. Cooper is just shut down, and he has a strange entry in which he talks about looking at himself in a mirror, which is something maybe we should revisit later. He's in a bad place. He says he's looking in the mirror. He hopes to see someone else on the other side than who he does. Should we keep going with that story bit after her death, because there's more Earle stuff?
Yeah, I think we should. Let's just keep going through Earle, and then we can maybe bring that into the Twin Peaks era, because it leads right up to it.
Okay, so because those things will be. I talked about the psychiatrist, right? Like that Earle. Did I talk about that in this?
Yeah.
Earle. Maybe not in this Earle timeline.
No, you said it in the previous section.
Yeah, but he puts his head or it gets him to put his head in the oven, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Earle. So Earle starts tormenting him about chess moves. He makes a couple of attempts to break out of the place of whatever the insane asylum. And is caught. He tries to escape. I know in like 1989, pretty soon.
88.
And when he's caught,
and 9, yeah.
89,
88, he
right?
starts sending some tapes. You're right. In 89,
yeah. And then he sends Cooper a note that he will be playing a game with him soon.
A test of skill, one last game, me, the brilliant teacher, revered by all inside these dreary powder blue walls, and you as his promising, if not predictable, student, which is the thing he keeps coming back to later. Yep.
Is there anything else really with Cooper, though, after that you wanted to talk about? Because I don't see too much on my notes for post that.
No, there's a small thing just before that when he first sends the tape to Cooper about there once was an agent from Dover or whatever. So there's that, and then there's the little. But do you like the?
That's right. Especially when he doesn't rhyme, he's like, "Wouldn't it have been better if I rhymed or whatever?" I don't know.
I know, it's good. But there's the riddle. There's if a plane crashes on the U.S.-Canadian border. Do you remember that riddle from when you were a kid?
Where do you bury the survivors? Or
right.
You don't bury survivors.
But his twist,
but
his twist is you have to kill them first, which I think is great. Like, so I'm reading. It's like, oh, that's so funny. I remember that riddle from being a kid. It's like, I got to kill him first. And then there's the long nursery rhyme. One bright day in the middle of the night. Do you remember that? Did you recall that as a kid as well?
No. What's that? Say the riddle again.
Wait, let me go.
One bright day in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Two dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. Do you remember? It's a nonsense rhyme that's all contradictions. No. Because it goes in, it's very similar to ladies and jelly spoons that come before you to stand behind you to tell you something I know nothing about. It's all mixed together. So I had to look it up. There's actually many, many versions of it, but they're all kind of a piece. But it's all, I've always loved it, like the wordplay of it as a kid. Yeah. But it's just this, everything is a contradiction of the thing it had just said. And it's really great. Like, I don't know, like, the deeper meaning throughout all of this, except that it is just full of contradictions and these opposites in each little couplet that's doing. But I love that. It was like, oh, I recognize this. And it was like, oh, it got dark and twisted instead, which is great.
It's interesting, like, I guess, because I have stuff to talk about with Twin Peaks, but the stuff that's non-Twin Peaks, you do see, like, again, we talked about Cooper going dark, and then he goes to the DEA. He goes to another part of the...
And we meet Dennis there, too, which is great.
We meet Dennis,
Just
which
got to
is
call that
cool.
out. Yeah.
And then... He's in another part of the FBI as well before he's brought back to this one. I just can't remember it is. But he bounces around a little bit. There's so much time. Like, that's the thing. Like, in the show, it's only 4 years ago. But in this, it's like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
This thing has happened. It's an interesting choice to have backdated it that far for all of this stuff to have happened. But I guess it's just the idea is it's a very young, inexperienced Cooper that this is happening to versus the one that is in the show. It felt a little odd that we have that time. I prefer the shows. I prefer it being a little bit more fresh in Cooper's mind when he's facing down Earl than if it was 10 years ago. Not that the pain would be any less, but...
This is, before we jump into the Twin Peaks stuff too, two other women that I want to mention. I've forgotten about Lena. I don't know how I forgot the gasoline and everything with her, but there was Betty as well. So she was an inmate at an asylum when he was in college and started to try to explore madness in normal people, which I think is really important for him
I forgot
to
about
talk
the whole
about.
thing he did in college. That was
it was great. But she was the first. This woman Betty was the first one. Like, I think he says something along. I could find the line, but something that can take in control of her, and that if evil is an incarnate thing, then she's an example of that, or she's the first example of that for him. So I thought that was really cool because we do obviously have, there's several references to mental instability throughout. There's one in his neighborhood when he's growing up, and one of his neighbors goes running out of his house. I think, like, in my mind, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like in his underwear, goes running around the corner or something like that. So
I think someone's naked, right?
Was he naked? Maybe he was naked, but I just...
Yeah, Mr. Botnick. Mr. Botnick, he goes crazy and runs down the street naked.
Yeah. So that happens. Marie obviously has her own issues, shaving her head and, finding Jesus. Not that that's anything, but like for her, there's complete change in the personality of who she was. And then obviously this all ties into what's so important with Earl and understanding his nature. So just want to mention that. Then there's the other woman, and I cannot remember her name. And
You're not going to mention Cooper being mad that he doesn't have his friend's sex tape anymore?
Oh,
remember that? I forgot to mention that when I was talking about like the voyeuristic aspect of Cooper. It was like that was another like seeing it.
Yeah, his best friend having sex with his girlfriend while watching Nixon's resignation. So it was both like, I wish I still had that tape because of the history of it. But like, all right, dude, that's sure. Sorry, the other woman, and I can't remember her name, but she was the FBI agent that he met when he first joined the FBI.
Yeah.
And they don't ever actually consummate their relationship at all. They have that one moment like walking together and shooting guns, which I just think is a great, like, they both like just...
Yeah, and then they meet up again.
And then meet up again and just things didn't work out. But it's just, I like that there is this woman that he really did feel like this could have been something really important. So not only the women that he gets closest to or has the closest relationship, something happens to them. This one he chooses to not do anything with, and she survives, but they just never have that moment that he thinks really could have happened.
You could add Diane to that list. I mean, they go out to dinner. Not that it's a necessarily romantic thing per se, but it
intimate though. Intimate. She's hearing all of his inner thoughts. I like. There is this one moment. Speaking of Diane, that in the very beginning where he's like, "Diane, I hope you don't mind that I'm going to speak to you, even if you don't." What does he say? Something along those lines, like, "I'm going to talk to you as though I'm talking to you." I love that.
Which makes it all make a lot more sense that it's like a comfort thing for him to feel like, so all of those things, Diane, I'm setting the clock for 6 a.m. Like, it's not necessarily
Diane's there
Diane
taking notes on it.
It's just him, needing to have that. And that he says, I hope you're not mad about that.
I think it's a great detail. It does make it clear.
All right. Should we jump into like our little
let's
Twin Peaks list? Cause that's we can end it with this.
Okay.
All right, so going all the way back to 1968, we talk about watching Marie through the window. She's wearing a red wig and she's dancing in a strange manner, which immediately is very reminiscent of Lil.
That really was something with the dancing girl, wasn't it? What exactly did that mean?
I'll explain it to you. Remember, Lil's wearing a sour face.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Who wears a red wig and has a sour face. Remember her? And in Fire Walk with Me. Maybe you don't if you're watching along with us, but there is a character that is very much like this. Now, Mark Frost wasn't involved in the making of Fire Walk with Me, and as far as I know, neither was Scott. But I wonder if there's anything to that when Bob Engels was putting that together, because there's a bunch of Fire Walk with Me stuff in this. So in March 8th, 1968, Cooper observes that electricity keeps us all alive.
Yes.
He doesn't know where it comes from or where it goes when we die, but that concept of electricity is a big deal in the world of Twin Peaks, especially in Fire Walk with Me.
Right.
We're going to jump over to 1968. We talked about he writes J. Edgar Hoover. He receives a letter from J. Edgar Hoover in the FBI.
Yep.
All right, September 1st, 1968. Cooper hates birds, and we're reminded of Waldo. I talked about that.
Yep.
And you think of The Dream. I also talked about that. He learns how to card count from his uncle, and again connected to. So this is where he learned how to do what he does at One Eye Jack's.
Jacques
years
Renault.
later.
Yep.
1969, he gets his first taste of coffee and cherry pie, but I think he's had cherry pie before because there's like a mention, I think, of like his grandmother or something making cherry pie, but it's definitely his first cup of coffee.
Oh, is that when she has her stroke and dies when she's making cherry pie?
Yes. Yeah. But maybe, definitely his first cup of coffee. And this is when he's walking home from camp, which that's a whole adventure in of itself when he goes to Boy Scout camp and decides to walk home, and he just has that crazy adventure instead of taking the bus.
It's like 100 and something miles.
Yes, it's very much Wonder Years. It's like a lot of this book feels like it could have been its own movie as like a coming of age 1960s movie of a young boy.
Small detail with the coffee. I think he says something like, I had my first cup of coffee and my second, which is great.
Yes.
It's like, it's just like, all right, there you go. It's Cooper.
I talked about Jim, I think, as far as the guy that digs holes. He connects to the art of Zen, like right through this older man named Jim, and he makes this comment after he's taken to his room, and there's like this very subtle comment where he says like, you got to go before someone thinks something's going on,
right?
And it's like two men in a room, a younger man and an older man, but also a white man and a black man.
Yep.
And like the fact that is a part of the dialogue, subtle part of the dialogue, a normalized part of the dialogue that they have to do. But when he burns it down, like with just to show him that he had something there, so the authorities think he's dead, but we know he's not dead because we see that shadow watching, and he leaves a sharpened pencil as a message, which I just feel like is an interesting detail, and I'm not sure what that means and why there's a sharpened pencil left there. Where that guy was. I don't know what that is. I didn't know if you had any ideas of what you thought the sharpened pencil was all about. Write my story or write it down. Yeah.
I don't know, obviously, because I think it's ambiguous. But what was in the Jim's room?
It was like his journals, right?
Yeah, stacks of things, and perhaps they were handwritten, and the giving Cooper the pencil is like, carry that on for yourself, maybe.
Yeah, now you write the story, maybe. I don't know, something like that. All right, so we're going to jump over to 1971, and Cooper's at Haverford College. You mentioned this, but he's chasing this man who's chasing a woman. He discovers her body, and it's going to haunt him. He's got to try to solve a case. He becomes... This is the part of the FBI he likes, this quest for justice, and always being a knight. As kind of a knight in shining armor to sort of help people that could be seen as his weakness by some. Cooper mentions his hand shaking as he records his memo, and that's something we're going to see later. We didn't get to it yet. But when we get to episode 27, Path to the Black Lodge, there's a shaking hand in that. And is that a sign that Bob is nearby?
Oh, I thought it was just because he was scared.
Sure, you can read it as being scared. But yeah, later you're going to see someone shake, their hand shake. Also in Firewalk, we hear about a character whose arm went numb. So there is this connection to this kind of hand thing or whatever with Bob or some other dark entity.
Hang on, one other connection short with that as well is does this evil exist as a tangible form, as, say, a germ? Does it float as a feather would on the currents of the air that bring life to the world? So it just calls to mind the feather, the owls, the evil moving throughout them as well. Feels like a direct connection to what we see later as well.
Finally meets Diane. I like that she's described, this is in 1977, she's described as a cross between a saint and a cabaret singer. And I hope I get the years right. I try, because sometimes they will say 1977 and then you have to sort of figure out where you're at. So,
Right.
dear listeners, forgive me. Doesn't matter. You know the years are off. Is it 1989? Is it 1990? It's 1989 in the show, as far as I'm concerned, but some people could say it's 1990. I'm going to say this is 1978. 77, and he meets Diane. I just love a saint and a cabaret singer. So you just, what that combination looks like is what Diane is. I just love it.
No, it just makes me think of Diane that we meet in season 3 and trying to project her backwards to how she would have looked in 77. It's like, yeah, I could absolutely see that. That works.
Yeah.
It's a great description.
Shortly after that, he, this is when he says, like, I hope you will not mind that I address these tapes to you, even when it's clear I'm talking to myself. Again, a comfort thing.
Love that.
Eases some of those excessive details, makes it a little bit more sense. He's going to meet Albert for the first time, or he must have met Albert, and then he leaves a message like, why is he so angry to Diane?
Yes.
It's spelled Rosenfeld instead of Rosenfield.
Oh, okay.
But you could say, well, maybe he misheard it, and he said Rosenfeld but then Diane, if she's the one transcribing them, it's unclear who's transcribing.
Yeah, you're right. Who
these
is?
Things anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump over to why he hates psychiatrists and why maybe he didn't like Jacoby a lot, because his interactions with his own psychiatrist in 1978 didn't go well, and he is not happy with this guy. And now when you think about him meeting Jacoby and everything, maybe he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. It doesn't seem like he holds psychiatry to a very high regard.
Yeah.
Cooper is working a serial killer case. Severed hands. We talked about that. I talked about the, maybe I'll say it again, like the whole black square, white square, chessboard.
Yeah.
Windom Earle, clearly behind this whole thing. Or I think Windom Earle's behind that. I think that's implied. This is when Gordon Cole is brought in to oversee this particular case. So the first case that they work on is this serial killer case that most likely appears to be Windom that's doing it. You mentioned Dennis at the time. Mm-hmm. He's going to meet Cooper's in counterintelligence for 6 years. He doesn't do any messages. That's the one I couldn't think of.
Counterintelligence,
Then he's moved to the DEA. He meets Dennis Bryson at the time. And by the end of the year, he's back with the joint FBI task force. And there's one other note. He says that he doesn't like dentists, which almost connects to Twin Peaks, but doesn't. Because there was a bit about dentist in the last episode that didn't make air. Oh. So in the script, I think maybe they were going to build something with dentist that this would have been there's the dentist line, but it didn't make it. Fire Walk with Me. So we get to see the Teresa Banks case. Some of the stuff lines up, half of it doesn't. So he goes to Deer Meadow. That's in Fire Walk with Me. We're going to go to Deer Meadow and Fire Walk with Me. He meets a Sheriff Cable. We're going to meet a Sheriff Cable and Fire Walk with Me. But they say there's no known location for Teresa, but we'll find out she's at the Fat Cat Trailer Park. There's no mention of an Agent Desmond. We'll meet him. But this is long before there was a script and the changes that came while casting that. But we'll cover all that later, obviously, when we do the movie.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask about that because I remember after reading the book and seeing this part, doing a little bit of reading. It's been so long since I've seen Fire Walk with Me. But I was like, so what I had read, and maybe we'll just cover this when we talk about the movie, was that Kyle MacLachlan specifically asked to de-emphasize his role in it.
Yeah, we'll cover that when we do the movie. But cool. Yeah. He originally didn't want to do the movie. He said he wasn't going to do the movie at first, and they had to take his lines and switch it to Agent Chet Desmond. But we'll cover all that for the movie.
So those are the main discrepancies that you're describing, though, is between...
they say her body is found in a drainage ditch, and they say she lives in a cabin in this. That's not the way it is in the movie. They do have her working as a waitress. It's not Hap's Diner, which it will be. It's this Cross River place in this book. So there's some stuff that's the same. There's some stuff that's different. Cooper mentions in 1988, again, this evil force that he has sensed on 3 occasions. Once in a small mountain village, once at college and once when Caroline was killed, that he senses this thing. And he reads this lab report about Teresa, and we see that note about the letter under the nail. And it's said in this that it's written on acid-free typing paper.
Yep, expensive.
But from what I remember, it's cut from Flesh World magazine, right?
The letter B from Ronette's finger was cut from a copy of Flesh World. It's a perfect match. This particular edition features swingers clubs for standard poodle enthusiasts.
Yeah, but in this it says that they're acid-free typing paper.
Well,
so-
maybe they really splurged on the quality of stock for Flesh World magazine. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess Leland at that point, he was like, you know what, I could save money. And
Right,
I could
why am I-
actually have all these copies of Flesh World lying
Use
around.
this.
Yeah. All right. So Cooper dreams of the man from another place. I think you mentioned that.
Yep,
that was in 1988.
Yeah.
We get Earl trying to escape. He sends a note about playing a game with him. We're seeing that game now play out in the show. I think I have June 1989, but that's incorrect. Yeah, I'm wrong. So it's 1988. So
Okay.
all the times I was saying 1989.
I thought that
I'm an idiot. It should be 1988, not 1989. All right, so Cooper does have dinner with Diane, but he doesn't know her last name, and nor do we. So we never figure that bit out. That's all I have for most of. I think we covered
That's
all
it.
the Twin Peaks stuff.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I do you have anything else that you want to talk about? Otherwise, you could tell me that you hated the book or you loved the book. Did we miss anything big? Probably.
Well, there's a lot in here, but we hit all the major things that I wanted to cover as well. You covered them much more thoroughly than I would have too, so this is great. I devoured this book. Absolutely devoured it. I'm a kind of person, I read a lot, but I tend to read at night before I'm going to sleep, so it takes me forever to get through a book. For this, woke up one morning, couldn't sleep. I was like, I should read. And I plowed through about half the book in one morning and then finished it the next day. Just that never happens. It's also just a very quick read because I think it's so engrossing. It has such a strong voice for Cooper. I love the character and everything that's going on. So I was really compelled to read it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The discrepancies, don't bother me at all. Not saying that they do for you. I'm just saying I love it because it's the spirit of everything. It all fits together thematically and spiritually, even if it isn't precisely the same. I think it was the same with the Diary of Laura Palmer. Totally fine. As long as we get the meaning behind it, that's great. Just wonderful. Love the small things that are these connections to the show. You obviously know Fire Walk with Me a hell of a lot better than I do. So being able to hear those additional connections was really fun. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. There's such different things. I was going to say comparing it to the diary. I'm not going to bother. They're just such radically different things. But I do love the similarities of just being able to see these characters be fully fleshed out. For Laura, at the time that we read the diary, we knew so little about her, and it was all secondhand from other people telling you who they thought she was. So to get to see her in her own words was great. Cooper, similarly, we only see him at a certain point in his life, and we only get glancing references to his past. But now to get to see this in his own voice of who he was great. I thought it was great. I think you liked it too, considering you've read it a couple of times.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it much more this time. When I read it the first time, not that I didn't like it, but it hit harder. I think, especially the first 75% of the book, I think is so wonderful and sad. And to see him growing up and losing his mom and all of the death and his quest for sex. And I forgot how much sex and how he's talking about his erections and I have an erection again. And all this stuff just feels very real as a young boy growing up. And all of the coming of age stuff was great. And him on the road and hanging out with the hippies and she's drunk and he's trying, people putting his head to their boobs and how exciting that is for him. I like that stuff so much more than I did not that the last half or the last quarter was bad. It just, all of the stuff about Cooper I really liked, and it really fleshed him out. And I don't know what it was. I think it was probably because for me, Twin Peaks was always Laura Palmer. And I really connected with the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. And maybe I was expecting something closer to that. when I read it the first time.
Yeah.
And now that all this distance and time has passed, to go back to it and to look back and think of myself in that age and everything, it was good. It was a good book. I would love, I said it in the beginning, someone do a letter writing campaign, right? like Coop that we talked about.
Yeah, let's get Coop
and
out.
get Kyle MacLachlan to do an audiobook with a full cast.
It'd be amazing.
And get a young actor that could play a young, because I think that would be, I think it would make its money back. I would think. And this book is out of print. It's hard to find this book. You read the Kindle version.
Yeah.
But if you want like this copy that I'm holding, which you can't see, you
With
have to
all
pay
the-
hundreds of dollars for this.
Yeah.
Like, it's never gone back in print as far as I know. We're lucky The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer has gone back to print, but this is like, something that'll disappear.
Yeah.
Just like the one we're reading next, the Access Guide. Can't find that. Not unless you're going to spend a lot of money. But no, I liked it. I thought it was good. I think Scott Frost, like you said, nails his voice. I think it's just so sad. I found it very sad and lonely for Cooper. I feel like the tragedy, it does a good job of like adding to the character. Who cares about the details that are inconsistent or wrong? Like, it adds to the tragedy and things to come, and it's cool. I like it. Thumbs up. You should all read it if you haven't read
Fantastic.
it. I can't imagine listening for an hour and a half of us talking about a book you haven't read. But let us know what you think.
Well, I mean, except that it does give you so much insight into the character, even if you haven't read it. I hope this was useful or fun, just for you to get a flavor of the backstory of these characters. Definitely also recommend reading it. It is, like I said, a very quick read. It's an engrossing read. I feel the same about the first, probably 3/4 of the book.
Yeah, it's pretty much like right until he gets to the FBI is like
Yeah.
a whole other world. Like, you never hear about his dad.
No.
You never know Cooper has a brother,
His brother.
Emmett,
Who knew? Right.
who's like
yeah.
a draft dodger. And
Right.
like, so it's
It's great.
all the contradictions. And again, I talked about it. I'm not going
They're
to
great.
rehash it. But those two opposing forces about him on all his sides and all the duality.
It was good.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. We're back on the regular show
Yeah.
for 4 more episodes, and then we're reading again. So try to find the Access Guide to Twin Peaks. I know it is hard to find a physical copy. If you look around enough, you may be able to find a PDF somewhere. Not saying you should do that, but honestly, you should do that. I am saying you should do it. It's out of print. You can't even, I don't think you can get a legal digital copy. It's one of those things that's just becoming dying media.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy. This is the Access Guide is the one piece that I don't own.
Okay.
I had the autobiography. I had the Secret Diary. I did not buy the Access Guide. I don't even think I knew it came out until it was out of print. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not easy to find. You can go on eBay and buy me a copy, which is very generous, because then I would have it and I could put it right next to my autobiography and my
Snuggle
Secret
up
Diary.
with it at night. wrap
But yeah,
yourself in.
I'm not someone. As someone that makes things, I don't believe in stealing things, and I think you should pay creators. But in this case, you can't buy it legally in any way. And if you can, let me know. But I don't. It's not available. So do what you will.
There's one copy from abesbooks.com that's $2,000. So if you
Right.
want to buy Eric something nice, $2,000 copy.
And I just wonder, like, who owns the rights to it? Is it with, I guess at this point, would it be Paramount? I don't know who. I don't know who owns those rights to the book. Obviously, Mark Frost is going to be, those books are probably with him, the newer books. Like, put this out again. Like, what does it cost to, like, put a book out like this? And to do, I don't know. It just seems sad. It makes me sad that these things could be lost to time. Like, eventually, there won't be a physical copy of it left, and it's a shame.
I agree.
Maybe the Access Guide sucks, though. I have not read it. I can't imagine it does suck, but I've never read it, so I'm looking forward to it. If you have, let us know what you think. Otherwise, we will see you again next week for the episode 25, Dan. That's
Fantastic.
what we're doing, episode 25, which is, in my opinion, the proper return to form for Twin Peaks.
Looking forward to it. Until then. see you
Until
later.
then, good night, America and the world. We actually got a lot of European listeners now. It's creeping up. The UK of listenership's creeping up. So thank you for that, UK folks. It's true though.
No, that's great.
We lost a bunch, and now they're creeping back up.
I was going to ask you to do your British accent, but we won't do it.
No.
All right, I'm hitting stop.
Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, join our Patreon. It's available right now. You can sign up, and for just a few dollars a month, you can keep this show going, and you can get access to some exclusive podcasts and some secret stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you'd like to join, go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and look for the Patreon link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn and Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? That's weird. We'll see you again. And in the meantime, be good.
Listen to the sounds.
Meanwhile.